factor here. Can we watch MBT? Not like a whole video. Let's see. It depends. This is a Twitter thread. Why are Yu-Gi-Oh players so bad at talking about Yu-Gi-Oh cards? I think I saw this on Twitter. I'm trying to think what this came from.
I want to talk about a Hexlex tweet. So a couple of days ago, YGOrganization changed hands. If you're unfamiliar with this website, they do a really good job of reporting on new cards released.
He sold YGOrganization? I thought like Yugipedia changed hands. But like the guy who owns Org sold it?
I want to talk about a Hex.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, chat. Like that probably was. This has been known for weeks. Yeah, I mean, I don't really go to Org anymore. Org is kind of like, I'm not saying outused or outlived its usefulness, but like I don't really go to Org that much.
Flex tweet. So a couple of days ago, YGOrganization changed hands. If you're unfamiliar with this website, they do a really good job of reporting on new cards released into the OCG, which gives us a several-month window to prepare for those cards coming here. If you want to stay up to date on premieres, it's the best place to do so, and apparently someone else thought so because they purchased the site. They also redesigned how it looked. I've seen a lot of tweets.
Yeah, I guess that explains that, Chad. We were talking about how YGOrganization looks like so bad now. I guess that's why it looks... Oh my god. They bought the site and they immediately were like, yeah, let's make the site look worse. That's... Okay, now I thought YGOrganization just redesigned the site for no reason. They redesigned the site because it has a new owner. Okay, first mistake you made, buddy.
Tweets talking about how frustrating it is that it now looks like every other Web 2.0 website, but like, really? You're nostalgic for this layout? Anyway, YGOrganization recently started posting opinion articles. I'm not sure if this is going to be a one-time thing or the start of a new series of articles by the previous site owner, but regardless, we got one for the new ban list, and as Hexlex points out in this tweet, it's not very useful. This article is meant to be a bit of an explainer for the new Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Limited list that goes into effect on January 1st, 2024. And it does so by going through each individual hit and offering a little bit of the author's insight into why that hit happened and what it means for the upcoming format. Except it's not written as a technical text explaining a ban list, it's written as like a giant bomb article.
And this kind of... Shit.
There's gamer-adjacent AVGN-style takedowns just sort of peppered in with actual insight.
And no, that's not capitalism being bad. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to purchase an intellectual property and make it shitty, like, capitalism will ultimately decide if your decision to make it shitty or good, you know, works out for you. I mean, I'm going to be fine regardless, so.
As a result, it occasionally ends up...
It is literally that, Ashley. Shut up,
a little difficult to read. Now, Hexlex condemns this just a little bit, but I want to get out in front of the hate. I think this article is fine. I think this article is very successful at what it sets out to be, which is one person's sarcastic takedown and opinion piece about the new list. In the resultant discussion, however, I found that people not only thought the article was bad, but they didn't really have a good vocabulary for explaining why it was bad. That's because they couldn't separate the badness of this article from the badness of over a decade of Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. This article is just one more in a pattern of years of Yu-Gi-Oh! Reporting that has largely usurped informative articles with content creator-style sarcastic jabs at whatever they're talking about. This kind of begs the question, why are Yu-Gi-Oh! Players so bad at talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards? Articles like the one in the Hexlex tweet are so emblematic of just how weird Yu-Gi-Oh! Reporting has gotten. Discussions of cards are so often framed in the language of, oh, thank God this card is gone, I hated playing against it, or this card made me feel like an asshole, and so infrequently in like terms of this card is good or bad for the upcoming format. So today I want to interrogate why Yu-Gi-Oh! Players...
Interesting. You know what? Low-key chat, MBT just made me feel pretty good about my shitty card reviews because I would distinctly break down why I believe the card was good or bad and how to use it. I didn't just say, man, this card sucks and it's bad and if you play it, you'll feel bad. You know what I mean? This card's broken, and that's it wins the game. You know what I mean? I am going to miss old YGO You do that on Discord instead. Yeah, but that's not me being professional, so that doesn't matter.
Suck at talking about the cards that we use to play the game that we all love. And thankfully, I think there's 3 reasons for this, which means we can sort them into categories that will be separated by a title card now.
The format.
Okay, I hate to harp on this literally every time I talk about Yu-Gi-Oh, but let's check out a parallel card game in Magic the Gathering.
Oh my god! Bro! Press 1 if just shut up and become a Magic tuber. My god. Who recommended this again? I just want to, like, I'm not interested in Magic. Please, stop referencing it. MBT. Like, you're not a Magic tuber. I do a good job at talking about Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm just sick of the whole, well, Magic does it right. Well, then fucking go marry Magic then.
To my understanding, Magic largely doesn't have this problem. Yes, there are content creators that will make articles that sound exactly like what I'm complaining about, and certainly there's no shortage of individuals who will make reaction-style videos when Magic's ban list gets updated, but those are paired alongside a robust infrastructure of individuals talking about what the changes mean for the various impacted formats. In my opinion, the reason Magic the Gathering players are able to have that kind of intelligent discussion is twofold. Firstly, there is a reason to get to know every single card in the set. Yu-Gi-Oh players are usually not particularly literate when it comes to what's legal. This isn't really their fault. There's one format and every card that's ever been printed is legal. You're not going to remember, like, Taylor of the Fickle exists, for instance, right?
Actually, I do know what that card does. I covered it in my Maha Velo video. Suck it, MBT. Taylor of the Fickle, it equips, or you target an equipped monster, and you like re-equip that equip to a different monster on the field. It was a meta with the like Maha Velo era in the Yu-Gi-Oh. It was like 2002 or some shit like that. It was OCG, maybe even earlier. Nerd. I'm just saying. I know the card because it was relevant. It was only relevant specifically because of that Maha Velo video that I did. Boom, and that's also just me being OG. So there's that. I actually don't know that card. I know the card. Hold on. I'm not sure I'm quoting the card chat verbatim, but that's like a gist of what it does. Hold on.
Ever been printed is
what's it called? It takes a monster that's equipped, and it takes the equip spell and it equips it to another monster, which sounds useless, but by 2000 standards, like
legal. You're not going to remember like Taylor of the Fickle.
Switch one equipped card equipped to a monster to another correct target. There you go. That's that's pretty much what I said.
Fickle exists, for instance, right? Yu-Gi-Oh players specialize early. Usually they go to a tier list video, pick a deck they...
What set did it come out in? It's gonna be first 4 sets for sure. For the OCG, it's probably not one. Like it's probably like, I don't know, volume 4 or some shit. If I had to guess TCG, I'd probably guess Metal Raiders. Yeah, I'd probably guess. I mean, it might have been... No, that's not true. Because it could have been one of those cards from the TCG that just, like, didn't get printed for, like, a long time. But Metal Raiders is probably, like, when it should have came out. It should have been, like, either LOB or Metal Raiders. But I feel like it's not an LOB. So Metal Raiders makes... Or no. Actually, it could be Magic Ruler. Yeah, it could be Magic. That's what I was saying. It could be Magic Ruler. Just because it's a spell card. I was like, it's probably Magic Ruler. But like, yeah, probably like Metal Raiders. It's definitely first 4 sets. If Konami didn't do the like stupid thing and print it like 2 years late, it's definitely like first 4 sets. But I'm like, probably Magic Ruler because it's a spell card.
They think looks like something they'd enjoy, learn the ins and the outs of the strategy, and just sort of hope whatever your opponent's doing isn't going to interact with you in any sort of meaningful way. If you play a deck like MathMech that occasionally gets new pieces of support but isn't itching for anything new, you could go like literal years without reading or learning any of the new cards. Inversely, if you want to play competitive Magic the Gathering, you are working with a much smaller card pool, and as a result you need to be much more familiar with what cards play what roles. If you want to play one of Magic's limited formats, you are going to need to know what cards are good in that format, why, and in what scenarios you will pick those cards for inclusion into your strategy, which dovetails nicely into the second reason that I think
this video? I don't know. Some fucking thing some person said on Twitter.
we're able to have this conversation more effectively.
It's just some shit some person said on Twitter. I don't know.
Cards in Magic the Gathering are powerful based on what format they are being played in. Something that's strong in Standard might not be very strong in Modern, or something that's strong in Modern might not have legs in Standard. This means that every single card that is released is going to be scrutinized from a bunch of different angles. Is it playable within a draft format? Is it playable in one of several constructed formats with wild...
MBT makes up a problem that complains about it. The 70th complains about the 70th. Oh my god, I can't read. MBT makes up a problem, then complains about this. All right, I'm gonna say the problem for the 70th. I cannot say that 70th time. There we go. Few more words.
Wildly varying power levels. And in doing so, Magic the Gathering players develop a skill for card evaluation that has to be practiced even by casuals. I can't make that clearer than the fact that there are entire formats dedicated to rewarding that expression of skill, evaluating cards and then deck building afterwards. Yu-Gi-Oh! Players don't actually ever have to exercise that part of their brain.
I feel like we do have that. It's just in like locked formats, right, chat? Don't people do that specifically in like Edison format? In Edison format where like you have a locked card pool, don't you have to look at like every single card in the game and think about like how it can be used? You know what I mean? Like I feel like that does happen in Yu-Gi-Oh! It doesn't happen in like current format because the shit's always moving. Whereas like Magic has set rotation, so it's like obviously easier to do that because you have a limited card pool. Or am I just wrong? Locked and limited are basically the same thing. Your players are dumb because it isn't a game that exercises intellect.
It's really difficult for people to elucidate specifically why individual cards released in a new set are bad if they've never developed the underlying skills necessary to declare why any card is good or bad, or in what context it could be played. There's no limited format, there's a culture of net decking in Yu-Gi-Oh!, which brings me to...
personnel.
You know, at some point I'm going to have to talk about how I'm part of the problem. But not today! So Yu-Gi-Oh! Content has just sort of shaken out in a very specific way over the last 5 years. Since COVID, and I'd argue maybe a couple of years before that, people have cared a lot more about content creators and their opinion than they've cared about the actual underlying card game. Now, I just want to get out ahead of admitting I'm part of the problem. I think that's fine. God knows caring about the progression series in 2020 was a lot more fun than whatever Cecil format was, but it comes at the cost of consistent competitive. A lot more fun than whatever Cecil format was.
Oh.
But it comes at the cost of consistent competitive content. I'd argue that a lot of the reason why people don't feel motivated to write something like an article series interrogating the underlying assumptions of the pendulum strategy, why every pendulum deck just loads up on extenders, why people are allergic to non-engine, why for some reason almost every pendulum strategy, regardless of how it's designed, feels like people are trying to force it into the mold of Build-A-Board, is because regardless of what you say in that article,
Bro. And then people ask why I don't like pendulum as why I don't like pendulum as a mechanic. There you go. MBT just laid it out. Because every pendulum deck does the same fucking thing. And they all play the
pendulum
same.
Strategy, why every pendulum deck just loads up on extenders, why people are allergic to non-engine, why for some reason almost every pendulum strategy, regardless of how it's designed, feels like people are trying to force it into the mold of Build-A-Board.
There you go. Like every pendulum deck just... Even when Triff played Sofa Chords, like, alright, let's just play it as a Build-A-Board. End on Baron, Oppo, like, cool. The same shit that's in, like, every other, like, deck that you play is, like, oh, it's like, like, fucking just delete this mechanic from the game. God.
Is because regardless of what...
That's because Konami can't make them different because people hate them so... I mean, well, there was a period in Yu-Gi-Oh! For like a year and a half, Chad. Maybe not even that long. It was at least like a year where it really looked like they weren't going to make any more pendulum cards. And I was like, yes, let's do that. I'm trying to think what was... it may have been the new Magispector cards, or it may have been Sofa Chords, chat. Something eventually came out. Or maybe, no, it might have been Valance. But like something eventually came out to like break that fast of like no pendulum cards. I was like, oh God. Yeah, I think it was Sofa Chords. But it was like a long time where it's like we had no pendulum cards at all. And then Sofa Chords came along and fucked it up. And I was like, bro, please. Like, I thought Konami was like like subtly like retiring the mechanic, and it's like that's good. You know what I mean? Like no more pendulum new cards or archetypes.
You say in that article, the comment
It was metaphor. I think it was Sofa Chords.
section is going to look the same. People are going to be typing pen to best deck because they heard a YouTuber say it once. That's why a lot of these articles mirror the same type of language that you would see in a YouTuber style breakdown. The people who are writing it are responding to the wants of a community that has largely displayed they want to see the Bussy Boy and Farfa argue for the 50th time more than they want to see a breakdown of what the Sun Avalon combo actually looks like. The domination of individual personalities and the decks that they champion also dovetails nicely into the third problem.
Hey.
So we talked about Magic in the first third. I'm now going to
don't attack the golden goose.
talk about Pokemon. Yu-Gi-Oh has a lot of the same.
I'm also. I have to just. I know no one else chat gets bothered by this. Am I the only person who just like irks every time someone says Pokemon instead of Poke-Amon? Because it's just like literally not how you pronounce it, and it bugged me when I was like 10 years old, chat, and it just still bugs me. It's not how you pronounce the word. It just isn't. There's an accent. So there's that. And it just, I don't know, it bugs me when other, like, it was fine when I'd see, like, ghetto black people do it. Like, okay, obviously you don't care anything about nerd culture and stuff. It's poke because it sounds like pocket? Poke Bones cookies. It's Pokemon. Exactly. I don't even know how you get the accent there. You probably copy paste this from Google or something, but that's just always bugged me.
Same baggage as Pokemon. Competitive Pokemon is
Why would they make more pendulum cards? I hate them. So everyone. It's not even I hate them. It's widely the most hated mechanic in Yu-Gi-Oh! Reaper. Like, it's wild. I mean, even MBT's dunking on him, and me and him barely see eye to eye on like a lot of things. Like pendulum's not popular, bro. As a mechanic, it's not popular at all.
super interesting
very
and
disliked.
engaging. But regardless of how interesting or creative the
Okay, I'm
team
sorry, hold on.
third, I'm now going to talk about Pokemon. Yu-Gi-Oh has a lot of the same baggage as Pokemon. Competitive Pokemon is super interesting and engaging, but regardless of how interesting or creative the teams that people come up with are, the comment section of every Weedle to a Needle video is going to have a couple of references to a Pimp Night video that released in 2007 where a Magikarp swept a team of Ubers. There's this residual you have to 2007 where a Magikarp swept a team of Ubers.
Is that a real thing? Because that's crazy. How? This is my issue with Pokemon. Like, I mean, I guess Yu-Gi-Oh! is like so fucking power creepy, but like, Pokemon is it's just way too momentum based, bro. Like, the fact that like one Pokemon can beat 6 in any capacity is just too insane for me to handle. Like, no one, unless it's fucking Rayquaza. Like, I just don't get how one Pokemon could ever beat 6 Pokemon. But like, Pokemon is just so like one Pokemon gets on a roll, he just knocks out everybody.
There's this residual you have to win with your favorites attitude that's very pervasive among the Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Playing casual fan base, but also kind of leaks into the competitive fan base as well. Sure, a significant amount of commenters are incapable of talking about a card like Mathmech Circular without mentioning that a well-timed Blue Eyes White Dragon can make quick work of any enemy, but a lot of really good players also internalized some lessons from the anime and learned that sticking by your chosen deck is a virtue. There's no way you can have that opinion regarding
Chat, be completely honest. Are there any, I guess, sayings or feelings or underlying themes, anything from like the anime that you actually kind of take into the IRL card game of like, I don't know, any type of like identities or anything, any sayings or stuff? Because I'm trying to think. Let me think. I think there's one for me. I'm a proud deck. That's not from the anime. There's no character from the anime who even switches decks. At least not until like, not in the original series. No one like switches decks. Not until I'm trying to think if there's a prominent character in Bastion, I guess. Yes, there is. Who in DM switches decks? I was gonna say, yeah, that's what I said. Bastion's like the first one who like switches decks. That's pretty far deep into Yu-Gi-Oh. The DM's like 230 episodes. So in the original series, like no one even switches decks. They just add new shit to their deck. My touche, kind of. Okay, I guess. What I was going to say, chat, I think that like Joey's whole like playing with your feelings or playing like with your gut, I kind of use that IRL, chat. You know what I mean? Like Jib's always talking, oh, do you have siding patterns? You have to side out these exact cards. I'm like, bro, fuck that. I just side in what I side in, like what I'm feeling. You know what I mean? Sometimes, chat, it's like, oh, I'll just side in one random copy of this card. Why? Cause I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't got no fucking, oh, well, it's like that sells about, oh, this gives you an 88% chance of opening with two hits. I don't know any of that shit. All I know is like either I got it or I don't. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like that's just the Joey, like, dueling with my gut. You know? So, it's like NBA players. Not exactly sure you're saying, but Heart of the Cards, is that 10,000%? Heart of the Cards, 10,000%. I play Witchcrafters in competitive. I don't feel like I've ever really had a Heart of the Cards. Like, I've never been in a competitive game, chat, and I've thought to myself, like, please give me this card or please give me this. And then I got it and, like, came back and I've never, like, really experienced that. I've thought to myself, like, just give me a chance. Like, okay, I have, like, usually I'll think to myself, like, I got this many outs. Like, if I got one, I'm good. You know what I mean? But I never really think, like, Heart of the Cards, like, you know, what's it called? This is why you haven't, probably. People would probably say that. People would probably say, Cap, like, you have to think about the numbers and the analytics. Like, I get that's like the comparison. Is like, I'm one of those old baseball coaches or skippers who's like, I'm not have no analytics. You know what I mean? Get that young analytics shit out of here. So when people talk about statistics and whatever, I'm just not trying to hear it. It's just like, all right, I'm just dueling with my heart. And you know, Joey never talked about probability, so I'm not gonna talk about probability. Math ruined Yu-Gi-Oh! There you go.
Deck types, and also amass the breadth of understanding necessary to speak from a position of authority about a whole bunch of other decks. All of this coalesces into a weird, frustrating mess. There's no articles about the fallout of the list, except for ones by people unfamiliar with what the decks impacted do, but those articles are published.
I think that's because we have content creators, bro. You know, like, I don't really understand this point. Is MBT saying that there should just be like more general coverage on the, because I'm pretty sure, I mean, wouldn't TCG Player like also have articles on the ban list? You know, like you do have writers. Hanko Chow is my favorite one, chat. Let me see. If he wrote anything about, or if anyone wrote anything about the FNL list. I mean, maybe not a direct recap of it. Let's see. Silent Force. Stuff coming. Edison format. I really just read Hanko's articles. I don't read anybody else. Boom! There we go, chat. The GOAT. See? Hanko Chow wrote an article on the ban list, so what are you talking about? This is the best writer, by the way. The age of tier limits is over. Good. And actually, like, everyone, I hate tier chat, more tier bans. Or more tier hits. Rhino Heart the one. Planet bans. Scream to 3. Scream's fine. We can keep it at 3. And then ban Merly just for the lulz. Rip the floodgates, though. Yeah, rip the floodgates. So, like, okay. See, like, I don't know. He's saying, like, is he saying, like, this is why part of this is like, all right, this is just Twitter bullshit. It's like, okay, you can hone in on this one article and extrapolate like one giant point from it. Or what if that same person, chat, looked at this article, which is written by someone who writes Yu-Gi-Oh! Articles on the weekly? Then wouldn't, like, I don't know, wouldn't that entire opinion of, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players can't write card or can't write blah 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 blah. Wouldn't that be invalidated? Like, and by the way, Chet, I did not know that Hanko wrote an article on this. I just know that I read his articles on TCG Player. Yeah, because his articles, he always comes up with these crazy decks and shit, and I'm like, this is pretty interesting. I don't even like reading, but I like this. 8-minute read, I'll give you 8 minutes of my time, Hanko. So, like, I don't know. That's all I'm saying. Who is this video made for? Bro, you don't even... Fucking people who spend 5 hours a day on Twitter. That's who it's made for. It just kind of feels like Yu-Gi-Oh! Players are dumb, but offers zero solutions. But also no real reason why this is a problem to begin with. It's just an excuse to... That's like every video he makes, though. Like, I love MBT. I just don't like his constant bringing up of Magic in, like, every fucking video. I've never in my life heard someone compare Yu-Gi-Oh! To Magic this much. Ever.
Though they don't contain anything particularly helpful because you gotta publish something. That's how Yu-Gi-Oh! Content works. They got a Guido. Remember that meme? But the end result is the same. A community of gamers that are really, really bad at talking about their game pieces. I know what you're probably thinking. Okay, Joseph, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players can't explain themselves in a way that's satisfactory to you. Why is that my problem? Well, I think there's consequences to this. Yu-Gi-Oh! Players being bad at elucidating why cards are good and important for their decks betrays a larger problem, where Yu-Gi-Oh! Players straight up do not know why they are playing the cards they're playing. They know what a completed deck looks like, and they can get good at wielding the tools that are available in their arsenal, but they lack the neural pathways necessary to explain why each card is in each slot and why other cards shouldn't be there. And the few people in the community that do have that ability aren't writing articles. They're racking up YCS wins. There's a lot that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has to do if we want to be taken as seriously as a game like Magic the Gathering when it comes to competitive play. Certainly as players, a lot of...
I feel like I'm having one of those moments where I just like look at the screen like in the office or something like that.
That is out of our hands. Giving the platform necessary to individuals who know what they're talking about and are able to describe it.
Who takes Magic seriously, though? But Joshua Smith is making content and winning YCSs.
It is something...
But press 1 if that doesn't count, because he's not writing articles. So MVT1, Big Pimpin' 0. When Josh Schmidt writes articles, then it will count. But until he writes the articles, don't count.
That we're not going to be able to do at a local
undefeated
level. But one thing we absolutely can change from the perspective of an individual duelist is our mindset. It is good to practice skills like card evaluation that usually don't get tested. It's a strength to be able to elucidate why every single card in your deck is important without pointing whoever's asking to a Jesse Cotton video. And only when that understanding is commonplace will we finally receive Yu-Gi-Oh! Reporting that doesn't read like a Maddox article from 2009. That's it. See ya.
I mean, I don't know. Just read better articles, I guess. I don't know. I think a lot of this type of content, chat, is just it's a very small issue that comes up on this website called Twitter, where a lot of people spend too much time, in my opinion, but I won't go into that. And then that just becomes potential content, or it rather than just saying, oh, this is content, it becomes a discussion. And no one can ever say, like, why this discussion is so important. And then, content creators just turn it into content. I can think of some people, not going to name them. You guys know who they are.